Okay, welcome to our Empathy Cafe on the values of a culture of empathy. We're going to start off with just doing quick introductions, name, location, and maybe one value that you think is core to a culture of empathy. And I can start. Edwin Rutch, I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. And the value I'm really looking at is what I'd call feeling awareness. And so that's mine. Sophia?
Yeah, I'm Sophia. I live in Sweden, and the value that comes to my mind is respect.
Respect. Bob?
Bob Brown from Thousand Oaks, California. And the value I come up with now is passion.
Okay, passion. Corina?
Corina, I'm from Paris, France. Not Paris, near Paris, in France. And the value I was thinking about is to listen, the other, active listening.
Listening, great. Bill?
Let's see, what am I coming up with today? I like respect. That's fine.
Two for respect. Claudine?
I'm Claudine. I'm in the lovely East Bay area of the Bay Area in Rockridge, Oakland, which is a little neighborhood which is known for activism. When they made a freeway, as a sidebar, they made a freeway through this area and people were up in arms. Like, you are not going to destroy our neighborhood. And, so it's a great place to live. And I'm, for me, it's all about turning your ego off and listening.
Oh, I muted myself. Peter, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, we're doing introductions, your name, location, and one value that you think is core to a culture based on empathy. You're next up.
My name's Peter. I'm from Grantham in England. I don't really know a value that I think.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, welcome.
Think about it.
You're welcome. So yeah, I got a slideshow, folks. So I wanted to share some principles, and let's see. I am going to bring this screen up, and so I wanted to share some values and principles. Are you seeing that? Okay, everybody seeing it? Yeah. So values and principles of a culture of empathy. So this is an ongoing series that we're doing. We're exploring it. It's kind of indefinite, ongoing. And I want to just mention that you can present your values of a culture of empathy and the principles in the next cafes. So you're welcome to put together a slideshow, and we're going to have the first 10 minutes of the Empathy Cafe be for a presentation on a value or a principle. And so everyone can create a slideshow. We have 10 minutes, so we can do, one person can offer 10 minutes presentation, or we can have two people offer 5-minute presentations. And so I just wanted to mention that to you, that you're welcome to present. I know Bill and I and another group have been working on this topic. So Bill, we'd love to have you, present any of those values at the next meeting. And just, if you just let me know, I can just schedule you. And some values that I see that make up a culture of empathy is empathy, that feeling awareness, common humanity, openness, mutuality, integration, presence, mutual responsibility, power with, care, collaboration, and empathic questing. And I heard also respect and what was the other one? Listening. I think those are a couple that could be added too. And we're just doing an exploration. This is not a firm fixed list, but you know, it's an ongoing empathic quest. That empathic quest for me is sort of the exploration of these values. And definition, just wanted to define the principle. So a principle is a rule of conduct based on our values. So we start with our values, be it empathy, and then, you know, what is the rules that come from that? And a principle is a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior or for a chain of reasoning. And here are some principles that I think that make up the core of a culture of empathy. So first is a principle is we are willing to have an empathic dialogue with all people. So it's like we want to expand our scope of human connections to include all people and not limit it. And the underlying value that, you know, this is based on, I think, is mutual empathy, openness, and just seeing our common humanity, so that we see that underneath, you know, everybody, there is this common humanity that we have. The second principle is we strive to increase our circle of empathic dialogue and connection with an ever wider variety of people, which means we try to expand the connection. So the circle of our community, to always keep expanding it, not be a little a narrow in-group, you know, an insular in-group, but really try to reach out to all of humanity and bring them into an empathic dialogue. And the underlying values, again, are mutual empathy, openness, inclusion, and common humanity. And principle 3, we face conflict in our community or between others. So we address or face them and are willing to have a mutually empathic dialogue to work out issues and conflicts. Again, the values are mutual empathy, openness, and presence. So presence is, you know, staying present with what is, and, you know, creating collaboration and common humanity. So those are some of the underlying values. And the fourth principle that I see makes up a culture of empathy is we're willing to take the first step in being empathic with the intention of creating a culture of empathy. And that's mutual empathy, presence, collaboration, and common humanity. And I'll stop the sharing there. And what I mean by that, it's we have, for example, we have this empathy tent that Bill and I take out sometimes here in Berkeley. And the political left and right will, you know, meet in Berkeley, and they'll have a, you know, a fight there where they kind of battle it out with each other. And we go and we try to take the first step. They won't listen to each other. They'll just kind of beat up on each other. And we go and we listen to each side. We're willing to take the first step to listen to each side and to try to bring the sides together into a culture of empathy. So that's sort of the principle, that even if we're in a personal conflict, we're willing to take the first step to empathize. But the idea is to bring that into a mutually empathic dialogue. So I just wanted to, that's sort of my presentation on, you know, some of the core principles. I'd love to hear, you know, your principles in the next cafe, if you want to present those. And in the discussion part, these are just some ideas that we can discuss in the circle together today. So I am actually going to lock the meeting because we don't want more people to come in. So, we need someone to share again how the empathy circle process works. I think we can just do one big circle here. It'd be better than dividing into two. But you want to explain it again, Sophia? You did such a nice job last time, just for anyone that doesn't know how the circle.
I'm really tired today.
Okay.
I don't think I can think.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Bob or Bill, do you want to explain it?
I'll give it a try.
Okay, cool.
In the Empathy Cafe, the main participants are a speaker and a listener, and the other participants are passive listeners. So the speaker has about 5 minutes to speak about the topic chosen or whatever is alive for the person. And at every moment or so, the speaker pauses to allow the active listener to reflect back what the listener heard. And the speaker can clarify or accept what is said. And then after 5 minutes, the speaker backs away. The listener becomes the speaker and chooses a listening partner. And again, the process is the speaker speaks and the listener reflects back. And the speaker can say anything at all, and the listener merely reflects back what is heard without comment, without judgment, without analysis, without contradiction. And so that's pretty much it, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody's seen, I know everybody else has looked at it. Peter, have you seen the instructions for how to do an empathy circle? Have you had a chance to?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so you can just observe. You can, well, some of us will go through it, and you can observe. Yeah, Sophia, sound like you want to add something?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if dividing us into two groups would feel more comfortable to others, because then there's a very long listening part, which can be kind of exhausting. That is what I feel. I'm just wondering if
You like to do two
everybody else
rooms?
thinks.
Okay, we can do that. We can have 3 in one group and 4 in the other. That way you get more chance to speak.
Yeah,
Maybe,
if
okay.
that is okay for you, for everyone else. Yeah.
Does that work okay? Get a hands up, 2 groups. I'll be in one with Sophia. Okay, let me create the rooms then.
Can I say that I would prefer to be able to interact with, since this is actually a fairly small group, I would almost prefer to be able to interact with as many different people, or see as many different people actually interacting with each other.
Okay, so I'm hearing one
my
vote.
sense.
Well, let's have a discussion. We can use the empathy circle process to have a discussion if we divide into other groups. So there we go. So Bill, do you want to keep time?
Sure.
Would you be willing
Yeah.
to? Okay,
Yeah.
so we can get started, and then
5
maybe
minute terms. You
we
wanna do?
might break it. We'll have a discussion using the empathy circle. So I'll actually speak to Bob. I'll start.
Just
Let's see,
5 minute turns.
Maybe
You wanna
4
do?
minutes, since it's
4
a,
minutes,
yeah,
okay.
let's do 4
Sure, okay.
minutes since it's
Okay.
a bigger group. It gives more time. So I will speak to Bob and we'll just model it. Yeah, this is an interesting thing. We have to decide if we break into groups, we have 2 different opinions. So maybe we can have a discussion about whether to divide into smaller groups or not.
So we have 2 ideas, one for one large group and an idea for 2 smaller groups, and we can discuss this and see what comes out of it.
Yeah, one idea might be is we do half of it in a large group, and then we divide into a small group, the second half.
So first idea may be a large group to begin, and then dividing into it as a second half.
And then we also have made shorter turns, so that gives people more time. That's another kind of aspect. Yeah.
And shorter time turns would allow more people to interact in a larger group.
And how does all this relate to a culture of empathy is another question. Making decisions, right? We have to come up with a collaborative decision. So that's, yeah.
So it's a collaborative decision. And I see a message from Peter here.
Yeah, I feel heard.
Okay, all right. Sophia, would you please listen to me?
Sure.
Yesterday, I was in a group of 3, and I felt very burdened trying to keep the momentum going with just 3 people.
Yeah, so yesterday you were in a circle with 3 people and you felt very burdened by that.
Thank you, I feel fully heard.
Okay. Bill?
Listening.
Well, I have some things to bring up with Edwin, so that is why I proposed that.
Mhm.
and I feel a slight irritation about not, yeah, I'm thinking now that maybe I should take it the next time because there won't be any time to resolve it. And I'm very tired today, so I might leave in 45 minutes. So, yeah.
Okay, so you wanted to break out into small groups because you've had some issues that you wanted to deal with Edwin with, and you're feeling kind of tired. And so you're just seeing maybe this might not be the best time to bring that up. So therefore, maybe to do it another time. And then you're feeling kind of tired. So you're wondering, you know, maybe you'll be here for about 45 minutes and then have to leave.
And maybe I'll leave earlier because I was feeling really anxious about bringing this up with Edwin, and now I feel disappointed that I can't do that, and because I really want to have a dialogue about it.
Okay, so you're feeling kind of discouraged that you won't be able to deal with this issue with Edwin. You want to have a dialogue, and so you might just, you know, drop out earlier and then, you know, talk to Edwin at a different time.
Yeah. And just to sort of, the good thing about having smaller circles is that you get the chance to practice active listening, because it's all about practicing it. It's not about watching other people doing it.
Okay. So you feel that in smaller groups, you get to actually practice active listening, and that's much more impactful and much more of a learning experience than just watching people do it.
Yeah, I feel more relaxed now that I at least I expressed it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So you feel more relaxed being able to express yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
Okay, great. Let's see. Karina, do you feel ready to listen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I'm very intrigued by what Sophia said. So there's that curiosity. I'll stop there.
So you are very intrigued, but about what Sophia said right now.
Right. Yeah. And I think her points are well taken about a smaller group. However, I also think it's real hard to keep something going for about 2 hours with just 3 people. It is difficult.
So do you think that somehow she's right? Well, I cannot repeat everything because I don't remember.
That's
Sorry.
okay. That's all right. You can ask me to repeat. It's, you know, it's not a contest. So yeah. So I think Sophia has good points, and I'll stop there. Okay.
Okay.
And then
You
the
think
next,
that Sophia?
right.
Yeah.
And then but I agree with Bob, and that's been my experience, that in a small group of 3, it's very hard to keep things going. You kind of feel almost under stress to come up with more material. I'll stop there.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. So you are concerned about the fact that 2 hours is very long in a group of 3, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. And
Okay.
so I think about what's the empathic, you know, can you make a decision in an empathic dialogue? Is it possible? So I'll stop there.
So you think that is not impossible? Is not possible to make?
Well, no, that's the question. Is it possible? So the question is, we want to make it. So how do you make for me? So getting back to the core values. So my values is that I would like to have a larger group, because on balance, although I agree with Sophia's, you know, points, I think that on balance, you know, what Bob and Claudine said resonates with me, but I can be flexible. And so then either I could split it or go into smaller groups if that seems to be so that's sort of my empathic approach to this, is that I state my preference, but I'm flexible.
I see. So you have your preference
Hmm.
for a larger group,
Hmm.
but you are flexible to take a decision in another way. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
that's really great. Thank you for listening to me so well. Thank you,
You're
Julia. I
welcome.
feel completely heard.
You're welcome. What should I do now?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you are the speaker, so you have 4 minutes to speak. So pick a listener, and then you can hold forth on your opinion.
Okay. So a listener, may I pick, for instance, Bob?
It's good to select someone who hasn't spoken yet, maybe
Ah, okay,
Claudine
sorry.
or even
I
Peter.
don't, yeah. May I speak, may I pick Peter, for instance, if he agrees?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's okay for you,
Yes,
Peter?
you know.
Okay, because
Yeah,
I'm
that's
new.
a good.
Ask yourself, so I don't know. So my issue is, well, in my work, I'm an agile coach in companies. So my issue is regarding to my work, or can I talk about my work, right? How do I raise empathy level in companies today? So I'm kind of lost.
Okay, so your issue is you don't know how to raise the empathic levels in the company you work for. Is that correct?
Yes, right. Yeah, yeah. I'd like some. I like to find some new things to work on this point, to help them, to coach them on this point, because I feel that our world is very self-centered today, and even in my environment, close environment, I see people that are only talking about themselves. Whatever you are saying, they are still talking about themselves. So I don't know how to make people empathic without about the others, right?
Okay, so you want to learn ways to make people empathize more with each other, because where you work, the people only think about themselves.
It's, yeah, right. And not only where I work, because I have different customers. I'm not having only one company I work for. Is even in my personal circle, in my family, and in my friends, I see that there are some people, not all, hopefully, that are really self-centered, that became self-centered lately. I don't know. It's like, or maybe they were so like that. So I'm in need of a key to open empathy.
Okay, so both in your personal and professional life, you want to know how to make people have more empathy.
Yeah. I wonder if this is possible, right? And how it is possible.
And you wonder if that's possible, and if it is possible, then you want to find out how that's possible.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I feel heard. So I don't know who is speaking now. Maybe you are the speaker, no?
Peter is the speaker and he selects someone to speak to, right? And maybe to Claudine, just to spread the attention.
Yeah, that works. What do I speak about?
Whatever's alive for you, whatever you want to talk about, it's up to you. The values of a culture of empathy, or just anything, yeah.
I'm feeling a bit stressed now because I don't have that much going to my head. Coming to my mind, I should say.
I'm sorry, the chats are blocking Peter's face for me, and it's kind of distracting.
Yeah, we shouldn't do the chat window. It's like, it's not good to do the chat.
So I'm sorry, Peter, can you say that again, please?
I said that
I heard you were scattered. I heard you were feeling some anxiety.
yeah, just because I don't have anything coming to my mind to speak about, and since it's like my first time doing this, yeah.
So it's feeling like a leap into the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm somebody who either has nothing to say or won't shut up.
So you're either on or off.
Yeah.
It feels like a pressure situation.
Yeah. And sometimes, I guess, in everyday life, you have conversations, and you tend to speak to people with more of a context. So then you say things relating to that context. But I'm here since I don't know these people, then I don't know what to speak about.
So it's hard to find a common ground. Hard to locate that context that ordinarily would be there with people you know.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have nothing else to say, you can just say, I feel fully heard, and then your turn passes on, or you can go for the full 4 minutes to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I feel fully heard. Thank you, Claudine.
Thanks. Well, I'd like to be a speaker.
You are the speaker, and you just select someone to speak to. So just select your listener.
Well, interestingly enough, I'd like to speak to Peter.
I'm listening, Claudine.
That brought up a lot for me. That brought a lot up for me because in my family, there seems to be a lot of that same either engaged or not, and a difficulty with sort of, I'm not sure where it's coming from, you know, and I've tried for many years to step in the other person's shoes and see how they're feeling and why it is that the conversation has stalled. It simply is just dead in the water. So I have a lot of trouble with that. Just with family members. It seems as though they're not feeling something that for all intents and purposes, we're supposed to be able to do that. We're supposed to, by every image that we see in the movies or on television, all of it says that people just sort of drop into these wonderful conversations, and then 5 hours goes by and they look at their watches and say, oh, where's the time gone? That's not my experience. My experience is that it starts and it stops and it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're saying that you were able to relate to that because in your family, there are also members who are either engaged or not engaged, and you think that on TV and things, the conversations seem to just flow, and there aren't like silences in the conversations, and you don't think that's like representative of what it's like for you in real life?
Now, my experience, I feel as though what we're led to expect, the ideal, the model, is not one of actually being comfortable with silence, that you have to actually fill the silence, that you can't just sit and be with somebody else. And that it might be that just because of differences in temperament or differences in energy level, you know, you can pick a really bad time to be talking to somebody about something. Classic example is like the husband who comes home and he's all stressed out, and his wife is like a chatterbox. She just has had so much she wants to communicate to him, and all he wants her to do is just shut up. So yeah, how do you deal with those differences in style?
Okay, so you were saying that that we're led to believe that we shouldn't have silence when we're in the company of others, and that we should, if there ever is a silence, that we should fill that silence. And but you don't think that that's how we should deal with the situation, because the way we are just depends on how we're feeling at that time, and for various reasons people don't always want to speak. And one example of this is when two people in a relationship live together and one of them comes home from work angry, and the one coming home from work wants their partner to be quiet because they're in a bad mood.
Yeah, you know, great. That's it in a nutshell, is that if we are engaged with each other, somehow we need to develop some kind of ability to sense. And that feels like a core value of empathy for me, to sense when things are going pear-shaped, they're going badly, because I'm actually not listening. What I'm being in my head is wanting. I want something from the other person. So, you know, it's a mismatch. but yes, I feel heard. I could talk for hours about this. So, but thank you. That felt good.
That's okay. Thanks for listening to me as well.
So you're the speaker again. So you select someone to speak to, Peter. Whoever is the listener becomes the speaker, and they select who they're going to
Okay.
speak to.
Okay. I'll go for Sophia.
Sorry?
Actually, you said you're tired, so maybe not. I
Uh,
chose you to
No,
be the listener.
I just wanted to what have we decided? We were gonna have each turn to, and then make a decision. Can we please make a decision, or I'm leaving?
Oh yeah, that makes. Oh, yeah,
Sorry, I'm not directing this at you. I just want for us to make a decision about what
Yeah.
to do.
Well, let's go for another like 20 minutes. Then we can divide into two groups. So it just
Okay. Yeah.
okay.
Yes. Okay.
You
So
get
now I
more
can
time to
listen.
speak. Yeah, you get more time to speak when you're in a smaller group. So I want to make sure that everyone gets familiar with the practice first. So anyway, Peter selected you to listen.
Yeah, I
Sophia.
can listen. I feel calmer now. I wasn't frustrated with you, just so you know.
Yeah, I didn't think
Yeah.
you would. Okay.
I'm all yours.
Okay. I'm glad that that's been resolved. Um,
You're glad you're... Sorry, I didn't hear.
I said I'm glad that that issue has been resolved.
Yeah,
And
you're
we now
glad
have,
that the issue has been resolved.
and that we now have a plan for how the rest of this call will continue.
Yeah, and that we have a plan for how to continue the rest of this call.
I feel like while Claudine was speaking, then I thought of some things to say, but then since I was focusing, since I wanted to redirect my focus back to what she was saying, then now I've forgotten what I had thought I could say now.
Yeah, so there was something that you wanted to express whilst hearing Claudine, but now you have forgotten about what that was.
Yeah. And I imagine that, well, the way my brain works is that I usually think of the things to say when it's too late to say them. So I'll probably remember it at some point. It may be during this call. It may be at some point today. It may be at some point this week.
Yeah, you have a tendency of forgetting things, and you're kind of a slow to remember. So you might remember it during this call, or you might remember it at another point this day. You don't know.
Exactly. I'm also wondering whether the photo in the background of Karina's video. I'm wondering whether that's in Portugal.
Yeah, you're wondering if the picture in the background of Corinne's screen is in Portugal.
And now, since it's a hot day, I'm wishing that I was in that water because it would be cooler than being in my dining room.
Yeah, yeah. And because you're seeing water and it's a hot day, you want to jump in to it.
Yeah. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
I wanna speak to Edwin.
Listening.
Yeah, the thing that I wanted to talk to you about is about that I don't agree with having the openness to talking to everyone.
Yeah, so the topic you like to address is the principles of being willing to talk with everyone. You don't agree to that.
And in NVC, we see that principle is a strategy to meet our needs. So if a particular strategy, that what you call a principle, doesn't meet the needs of another human being, you have to leave that strategy.
Yeah, so you're seeing that within NVC that principles are a strategy for meeting needs, and if that strategy doesn't work for your needs, then you kind of leave it.
Yeah, and the way I see it is that also in NVC we have the saying that we empathize, but with care. We don't shout at people, we don't curse at people, because if you lash out on people, that will break trust and break the connection and eventually break the safety of the connection.
Yeah, so it's like you don't shout at people because that's going to inhibit trust and a feeling of safety. So
yeah,
that's like,
so yeah, so I'm feeling a little bit disappointed with you actually, because allowing bad behaviors in this group that could potentially scare people and harm them, that is not empathy.
Yeah, so you're feeling like disappointed in me because if we allow bad behavior, that's going to scare people away. So.
Yeah, and that's not empathy. I really want you to understand that shouting "shut up" to someone is not empathic. It's not. And no matter what you say about it, it's not empathic and a caring way to approach a human being.
Yeah, if people are shouting "shut up" and stuff like that, that's not being empathic and not caring. So that you just want to make everyone aware, or that's just something that you're addressing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that safety and care and respect should be like on the top of the values, because I can be angry, I can be irritated and annoyed by people in the circles, but I know that I have to deal with that within myself. I can't lash out with people with any kinds of words, because that will break trust for the group.
Yeah, so it's like if you know you might be angry, but you can't like lash out in the group because you know that people that will sort of break a sense of trust with others.
Yeah.
And so you want to kind of
you
respect
also,
that, because you want that feeling of trust and safety in
yeah.
the group.
And you also have to understand, Edwin, that just because you feel safe with the principles that you have set, doesn't mean that that is other people's preferences. We all come in here with different needs, with different preferences, and that is basically what empathy is about. It is about caring for each other's differences.
Yes. So empathy, you feel, is really caring about each other's preferences, and so yeah, that's what you find empathy is about.
Yeah, it is about that. It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like
Look it
you're
up in the
certain.
dictionary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have a
yeah,
sense of certainty that that's what it's about.
yeah. I just want to add that it's about putting yourself in another person's shoes, and that is also about how you talk to other people. If you shout and scream and curse at them, you're not being empathic.
Yeah, so if there are people like
bad.
shouting, cursing, screaming at you or other people, that's not being empathic. And so that was the time too, but Bill
Yeah,
had put
I
it up
saw
there.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, then I'll speak to Bill.
Listening.
Yeah, there's, yeah, I agree. If people are like screaming at each other and stuff, that's not being empathic. And we're actually talking about a specific incident that happened in one of the circles. So I think I just want to kind of make that clear for other people, somebody who was kind of shouting.
Right. So what Sophia's talking about was in reference to a specific incident that happened where someone did that, shouting and saying shut up and things like that. And you don't feel that that's empathic behavior as well.
Yeah. And it's a bit, since, with the political, for example, the political mediation that we do, is the sides, the political left, political right, are not empathizing with each other. So it's like I'm saying, so the principle is, I want to have a culture of empathy. I want an empathic relationship, and I'm willing to reach out and listen to the parties who are being unempathic in an attempt to bring them into an empathic relationship.
So what you want to do is that you're referencing now the political left and right, which are not talking to each other, excuse me, talking to each other in an empathic manner, and that you'd like to step into the breach and then offer empathic listening and dialogue for both sides, so that hopefully that empathic dialogue could be built.
Yeah, so it's sort of an intention. It's like if people are being unempathic, I still try to see their humanity. And I think a culture of empathy is we still try to see everyone's humanity under the unempathic actions that they're doing.
Okay. So even if someone is acting unempathically, you try to see their common humanity that underlies that.
And invite them into an empathy circle to dialogue about what they did that was unempathic. So what I would consider, the shouting, the yelling, or whatever, or however they were just not listening,
Mm-hmm. So then the next step, to offer would be to invite the people who are not acting, who are acting unempathically, into a circle for a dialogue to talk about their behavior.
Yeah, and I really appreciate Sophia's, just addressing this, like exploring this. But I think this is what this group is really about, is to check these principles and, discuss them, or these values, and really, kind of wrestle them to the ground, really explore them. So I really appreciate what she's bringing up.
So you really appreciate what Sophia is bringing up, because it really starts to, give sort of the acid test to the principles to really see if, are they enactable? Do they make sense? Things like that, kind of a reality test.
Right. And I understand people, there's sort of a level of, fear and anxiety, and people may not be ready to, go into, like, I'm willing to listen to everybody, and willing to listen to people who are in heavy conflict or being really, nasty or unempathic. It's difficult, it's scary, and I'm not going to judge people if they don't feel ready to do that. But I do think that that's what a culture of empathy is about, is having the resilience to be able to address that.
Okay. So you understand that people don't have the capacity or feel ready to basically enter into empathic dialogue with anybody, or in extreme circumstances, each person has to make their own decision about that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you feel that ultimately, though, that's the way forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's my time too. So I feel fully heard.
Okay, thanks. All right, look at that. Internal clock. Okay. All right. So let's see. I'll talk to Bob.
I'm listening.
Okay. So I also appreciate what Sophia said, because I understand the personality involved and also the incident, and I had experience too. I do think that offering empathic dialogue, I've been with Edwin in these, fraught situations and things like that. And I think it's real valuable. It's important to offer that, especially at this time in our history, and I'll stop.
So you resonate with what Sophia's saying, and you were involved in that incident where there was shouting, and you affirm Edwin's approach to empathy, accepting humanity, and allowing people to be who they are.
Right. And one of the rules, we haven't talked about a principle, but one of the rules of the empathy circles, we don't force people to do things. We invite them in, but we don't force them to do it. I'll stop there.
So in the empathy circle, we invite people in, but we don't force people to do things.
Right. And while I think that this empathy circle and this process is a wonderful tool, it is just a tool. It is not, if you're going to have an empathic society, it can't exist completely within this process or within this Zoom room or at an empathy tent. I think it's a wonderful thing. I've devoted a great deal of my life to it. I value it very highly, but it's not God.
So the empathy circle is a valuable tool.
Mm-hmm.
It works in the Zoom rooms. It works in circles. It works in the empathy tent. You've invested a great deal of your life into it, but it's not God.
Right. And what I mean by that is that at some point, there's a time when there needs to be an empathic action. That my feeling is, my personal feeling, and this is is that empathy has, in order to really be empathy, has to have three parts. It has to have like a head understanding, a cognitive understanding, a heart, a felt understanding, and then an action component. I'll stop there.
So to be fully effective, empathy needs a mental cognitive head component, a heart feeling component, and an action component.
Right. And one of the great detractors of empathy talked about how a torturer can use empathy, how they get under the torturee's skin, and then they use empathy to make torture more effective. And when we discuss that, generally the discussion is that, well, that's not empathy. So it needs to be, so the torturer needs to understand how the person that he's torturing or she's torturing feels. Number two, cognitively, they have to feel it. They have to be able to feel the pain, and then they have to withdraw that hand that's torturing. That's empathy. Anything less in that situation is not empathy. I'll stop there, in my opinion, of course.
So one of the detractors of empathy brings up the example of a torturer and a torturee. The torturer intending that to be an empathic relationship, and it isn't, because unless one withdraws the painful act and ceases it, that's not empathy.
Right. And so therefore, I think that, if this is, this practice is a wonderful tool and to build a culture of empathy. But if it's the only thing you need to do is to have, my time's up, sorry. If the only thing you need to do is to have an empathy circle dialogue and that fixes it, then it no longer becomes a culture of empathy, it becomes a cult of empathy, and really works at odds towards building a culture of empathy, in my opinion, and I'm done.
So you differentiate between a culture of empathy being an earth-wide planetary phenomenon versus a cult of empathy, which focuses only on the empathic circle process and avoids the whole approach to the human relationship.
Thank you, Bob. I feel very hurt.
Okay.
So do you want to go, Bob? And then we can divide into smaller rooms. That'll give people more time to, we'll just do one more.
I'm ready to go to smaller rooms.
Okay. So I made 2 rooms. I'll be with Sophia in one with, I guess, Corina, and then if she's there, and then the other 4. So we can go to 5-minute turns then too. You can have a little bit more time.
Okay.
So I'm creating the rooms now. And then we'll come back at about 10 till, so we have about 50 minutes in that room, in those rooms. So there we go. Well, you can join the breakout room. Okay.
Looks like Karina disappeared.
She wasn't there. I hope, did you have to take did you have to do something manually to join the room, or did it automatically send you?
I always have to do it manually.
Oh, well, hopefully she stepped away. So hopefully when she comes back, she'll see that she has to click the room. So do you want to start?
Sure.
Let me bring up the time here. Clear, let me just set, let's clear 500, set, start. Okay, I'm listening.
Well, I actually don't feel real understanding for my perspective from you, because when you speak, I don't hear that understanding. I don't want you to agree with me, but I want to feel understood.
Yeah, so you're just not hearing, sensing, having that I understand what it is that you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And it's not, for me, it's not about being ready to dialogue. It's about setting boundaries for how much you are willing to, how much bullshit you're willing to listen to.
Yeah, so it's really about setting limits or boundaries on the amount of bullshit you're willing to
Yeah. And my bullshit barometer, if you say it like that in English, it is very low, because I've had very toxic people around me. So my barometer is very low. And I also know that if a person comes towards me with all kinds of jackals, that we call it in NVC, that is, you know, kind of like blurring out what you think, that won't create a emotionally safe place to be in.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody's bringing a lot of judgments, or what you call jackals, that doesn't create a safe place. So you just really would like a safe place to be in.
Yeah, and for the speaker to also have a level of care towards the person that they're talking to. I mean, I can be really angry with you. I've been angry with you today, but I would never call you things because that is my emotion. It has nothing to do with you. You know, it's my emotion.
Yeah, so you have anger, you feel angry towards me, but you wouldn't like start calling me names because you realize that's your feeling and has nothing to do with me. Or
yeah, and it's about having the emotional maturity to sort of like know what to say to create a safe environment, and what to maybe you can have an empathic body that you can sort of like blur your things out that doesn't involve the body, just to get things out of your system, but to create a safe environment, blurring things out is not good for connection.
So you find it helpful to have an empathy buddy where you can share these feelings just to get them out there. But there's something about sort of creating a blurriness that I'm not quite clear. Something about.
Yeah, if you shout and, use curse words to describe another person, to that person, that won't create that safe environment. It will eventually lead to people having, being scared of being vulnerable. And empathy is basically about being vulnerable. And if somebody is being mean, that will create a barrier to vulnerability.
Yeah, so if a person is being sort of mean and shouting, that's going to inhibit people being open and vulnerable and sharing where they are. So that sort of is going to block empathy and deeper empathic connection. So you think people should be kind of sensitive and not do that, so they can really create that safety so others can be open.
Not sensitive, but mindful.
Oh, mindful.
Of what they choose to say. They can express emotions, but cursing at another person, that won't create a safe connection. Yeah,
so cursing at people doesn't help with creating a safe connection. So that was 5 minutes.
Yeah, I feel heard. Thank you.
I'll speak back to you because Corina, maybe she's busy with her kids or something. Well, yeah, I get it. I agree that cursing at people and name calling and judging is not very conducive to. Does not help with creating sort of a deeper empathic connection necessarily.
Yeah, you agree that cursing and judging other people doesn't necessarily create an empathic connection.
But the world is sort of flooded with that mind, those judgments. We're kind of in this world that seems to be flooded with those judgments, and so so for me the question is how to address that. That it's like I mentioned the political left and right. There's 200 people there, 200 people on that side, or 300, and they're all screaming and yelling at each other, all in that judgment, name calling. And then there's these couple of people, in the empathy tent trying to, create a culture of empathy.
Yeah, so I hear you feeling conflicted about how to address people's judgments. You see that it won't necessarily conduct an empathic society to curse at each other, but on the other side, you have the need to sort of address people's judgments, and yeah, you talked about the left and the right screaming at each other, and you sort of like sitting there in your tent, trying to listen to them.
Yeah, so I'm not conflicted. I'm pretty clear that I try to come from an empathic space, that I want to have this empathic dialogue. And I know there's plenty of people who are being unempathic. And for me, the question is how to bring them into this empathic world. They're full of judgments, they're full of anger, they're full of hate. You know, how do we transform society? And I think it's being willing to listen to that anger and see the feelings and the needs and the humanity behind it. So, you know, we're talking about James as an issue, the person, and it's like, try to see the humanity, you know, behind the name calling and stuff. So that's kind of my position.
Mm. Yeah, so you're not conflicted per se, but what I heard you say was that your perspective is about how to bring in people to an empathic dialogue, and by that you're listening to their judgments to sort of like bring them in and trying to see their humanity behind all their anger and judgments.
Yeah, and I want to bring them into an empathy circle where you can say anything you want. In the empathy circle, you can be judgmental, you can be angry, you can do whatever you want, and then you will just be heard. So this sort of models what we're trying to do, that, you know, James did it outside of the circle, which was one problem. You know, he kind of lashed out, said, "You're full of shit," and all that kind of stuff. But within the empathy circle, if he would have said that, that would have been okay. And if he would have said it to me, I would have just reflected, "Oh, I hear you say that I'm full of shit. You're angry. Is there more?" You know, it's like, and so that's, you know, I try to bring that energy, that judgment into the circle and then just empathize with it. And usually once people feel heard, they kind of move on and move past it.
Yeah, so what you want to do is to sort of bring them into the an empathic space, is what I'm hearing. So you wouldn't have an issue if James said you're full of shit within the circle, but he did it with, yeah, outside of the circle. But within the circle, you can actually listen to him and reflect, and eventually it sort of moves through, is what I'm hearing.
I muted myself because I was coughing. So the political right wing, I'll bring that up next time because my time's up, so I feel heard. Karina, you there?
Okay.
Just,
Yeah.
You're not sure if you're.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have 2 years old, so he's here and I'm alone with him, so it's kind of difficult for me to attend. I'm so sorry. I didn't know everywhere when I try to attend something, when he's here, it's not possible when I'm alone with him. He's very present. So I'm so sorry for the inconvenience that is causing to you.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you don't have the kind of space needed to listen. Is that what
I'm hearing what you are saying, but I'm not always here in the room because he's everywhere. So
yeah. So
it's kind of.
Are you willing to reflect me, or is that not something?
If I'm willing to reflect you.
Yeah.
To listen to what you are saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm listening. Right now I can listen. I won't go away. Sorry.
Yeah, but also reflect.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you like to talk about?
Well, I agree that listening to people's judgments could be of value. And I'll stop here.
Okay, so you are agreeing that listening to people's judgment would be of value, is of value, right?
Yeah, but not in a group setting where people, okay.
Yeah, not in a group setting. I'm hearing you.
Not in a group setting where people.
Félix, tu arrêtes. Je suis en train de
So can I speak to you, Edwin?
Yeah,
I think
I'll do the listening.
part
Just
of Korean.
I'm
if you
so
want,
sorry.
that's
No,
fine.
it's okay.
Yes, so you have some agreement that listening to someone's judgments, but not within a group context. You find,
Yeah. Because people in a group come in with different needs, and most of us have different traumas and need different kinds of level of safety. So I don't think that shouting out your judgments in a group setting, if it would be okay. No, I'll stop there.
Yeah, it's like there's a whole group and everyone has their needs, so it's not good to have someone just shouting out and in that group, because you got to address everyone else's needs.
Yeah, and unless there is an agreement with everybody, okay, so I'm gonna be very judgmental and I'm gonna shout. Is that okay for everyone? And then it's okay, but you have to have a mutual consent about how much you can lash out.
Yeah, you need in advance have sort of an agreement, like how much you can lash out, and you want everyone's agreement on that first.
Yeah, and that's what I see with James is that he doesn't care about how things land with others. I know that you don't have an issue with how it lands, but he doesn't care about the group. I know that a lot of people felt scared, at least in my circles. Everybody expressed fear and anxiety about having him, in the circles, and James doesn't care.
Mm-hmm. So you think that James doesn't care about how he's impacting people, and people were afraid of how he was, and he just doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care. If he did care, he would, for example, apologize for his behavior and kind of like, I want to make it up to you. That is what an empathic human does. Okay, I messed it up now. I care about how other people feels, so I need to like rebuild the trust, and he doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm. So a person would, if they cared about how they were impacting people, he would go out and he'd apologize. But he doesn't. So it's like you have a sense he doesn't care how he impacts.
He doesn't care. He doesn't.
Yeah, emphatically, he doesn't.
I know that he doesn't care. I have seen him interact in different groups, and they have tried to mediate with him, and he still doesn't understand how his words and behaviors land with other people. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't try to understand how his behaviors impact people. And you've seen other examples where they try to mediate with him, and you just seen the examples of it.
Yeah. How much time do I have left?
7 seconds.
Yeah, okay, so I'll stop there.
Okay. So I don't know, Karina, do you feel like have space, or do you just want to observe?
Yes, I would like to try to hear you, to listen. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not depending on me, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
A 2-year-old, he doesn't understand.
So let me hit this timer. So this was, just to give context, this was a person who, during the introduction, they started of the circle, they they started yelling at people saying they were full of shit. So
Okay, so I understand. I mean, should I reflect?
yeah, reflect back.
So it was a person that was shouting at people at the introduction, during the introduction, that saying that the people are full of shit.
And oh, just another thing that's coming to mind. You were asking how to create a more empathic empathy in businesses. I think what we're doing here is the best starting point for empathy skills.
Okay.
From
Okay.
13 years of working with empathy, I found the empathy circle is a really good first step for empathy building skills. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you. So this is the first step. This would be the first step of empathy building in every situation, right?
I think
if I understand correctly.
Yeah, and it's a first step. Yeah, I think a very effective first step.
Yeah, because we are, no, this is not reflecting. It was a judgment. It was saying, because usually people don't listen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah. So.
Sorry. So this is the first step, right? I'm stopping here.
With the person who did this, if they kept doing it, I would not let them into the group. I would say if they're going to just keep disrupting, it's like, okay, you disrupted once, we can let it sort of address it. And then, but if it was like ongoing disruption, I wouldn't allow it. Yeah, I would say the person can't be part of it.
So if this would repeat, you wouldn't allow this person again in the group, because they are already disrupted once. So,
but in the empathy circle, what we're doing here, if you follow the rules, you have 5 minutes to speak. And I always say you can say whatever you want, and you can act however you want. And all the times that James has been in an empathy circle, I've never had a problem that he broke outside of the empathy circle rules. He broke sort of the rules of the introduction, not sort of the rule. Yeah, he broke the rule of the introduction, but he's never broken the rule within an empathy circle.
So you say that you never saw him before breaking the rules of an empathy circle. It's the first disruption. And
it was a disruption was in the introduction, where we introduced ourselves, name, location, and that's it. So he said name, location, and said you're full of shit.
Why?
So that was breaking. All you're supposed to do is do name and location, not add anything else. So that's sort of, if you're going to break the rules there, then, if you keep doing it, then that's unacceptable.
Okay, so you mentioned that he didn't break the rule before, but at that time he broke the rule of the introduction.
Right. But never of the empathy circle, never of the empathy circle. And I appreciate, and he is now holding empathy circles himself. So I feel really happy about that he's facilitating empathy circles on exclusion, which is his main topic, big topic.
Okay.
So, he's sort of spreading the practice, he's supporting the practice, so I find that constructive, yeah.
So you find that it's constructive, the fact that he's facilitating empathy circle on his own about on exclusion topic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's what I want to do is bring people, and he's not the first person that does it. I wanted to add that last time is the political right has responded to my work. In some magazines, they mention my work, and on their posts, there would be maybe 200, 300, 400 posts saying you're full of shit. You're this is for babies. You're a snowflake. It's like criticism, judgment, just hundreds of these judgments. And so this is not the first, sort of criticism I get.
So you are talking about yourself. That is not the first criticism you get, but this Jack or whatever, James, was telling about you that you are full of shit, or?
Oh no, this is the political right, the right
Okay,
wing in
I
their
understand.
magazines, Breitbart
Yeah.
magazine,
Yeah, I
online
know them.
magazines. That yeah,
I know them.
Breitbart.
I know them.
Sure, Breitbart mentioned our empathy tent, so
That's great.
yeah, it was great. I thought so too. So, and then I'll just say that they had all these judgments, and I
Yes.
just said, come do an empathy circle with me. There
Okay.
can be 3 of you in an empathy circle with me. I'll take on 3 of you with empathy. And none of them would take it. They all ran away, and suddenly they all became quiet. So, yeah. So I guess I just want to end with that.
Okay, so I understand that you had an article about your work in rights, in the political rights, in the Breitbart, and that people were criticizing your work, and in fact being judgmental, and in fact you invite them to attend at an empathy circle, and they didn't come.
Exactly. They all chickened out. They were all cowards. When I feel heard. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for this. Well, yeah, I would kind of continue in the same direction, maybe.
Who are you speaking to?
To Sophia, maybe, if she wants to.
I'm listening.
So yeah, I remember that I was once attending a conference given by a Buddhist monk, which is French, Mathieu Ricard, I don't remember exactly his name. So he came to France 4 years ago, I guess, yeah, 2016. And he mentioned something which is similar to that issue. It was
you had were at a conference with a monk or Buddhist who mentioned something about this issue.
Right? He mentioned that every person, even the most evil person, people or whatever, individual, would be. We should look at his human side, and he was talking about mindfulness, about meditation, and he mentioned that we should consider his human side, and imagine that he was maybe just imagine us that he had a really difficult childhood, have compassion even to a criminal. That was what you are talking about right now. Remind me of that.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that he said that every person that is evil, in quotation, that you should consider the human side of that person, and to maybe like ponder if they had a bad childhood.
Yeah, so it was interesting. I'm not saying I can do it, but for me at that moment, Félix, s'il te plaît, at that moment was a kind of eye-opener.
Yeah, it was an eye-opener.
So that's why I'm saying, because it's a thing maybe that can be something to think about, maybe if it can help.
Yeah, you're thinking that it maybe could help.
I'm not sure. I just said because it answered to a question I was asking myself at that time, a big topic I had about myself, about my private life. And because I was very astonished that some people are evil. And in fact, when he said that, is like, give compassion even to evil people. Then I found also the fact that if you are thinking have not, how do I say, if you are hosting negative thoughts, this is a hurt for yourself. It's not a hurt for James, you know, even if, or whatever. If someone is insulting me in a bus, because here in France, people are very insulting, sometimes, some people. If I'm hosting negative thoughts, I would hurt myself, so.
Yeah, so carrying around negativity about evil people is hurting you.
Yeah, right. That's what I wanted to say, that's all. I'm so sorry about my
No, it's okay.
text.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Edwin?
Yep, listening.
Yeah, I'm feeling irritated. I can see how my red is kind of, no, my face is red.
Yeah, feeling some irritation. It makes your face red.
Because I still don't feel the understanding from you about other people having different needs. And what I hear from you is trying to explain yourself and defend what he did.
Yeah, so you just don't feel really understood that people have different needs, and that you just think that I'm just trying to explain myself instead of explain and defend.
And I don't feel that kind of care for not only me, but other people who don't feel safe. I don't feel that from you right now.
Yeah, so it's just like you don't have a sense that that I'm sensitive or have care for people's safety.
Yeah, I did though appreciate that you said that you have some kind of boundaries, that if he did it again, he would get kicked out. That made me feel a little bit safer.
Yeah, so that there is a boundary and that created a bit of safety, feeling of safety.
Yeah, and I just want to add that just because a person has had a bad childhood doesn't mean that their behavior is okay.
Yeah, and just kind of addressing what Karina was saying about, hey, if someone has a bad childhood, that doesn't justify, make it okay that their behavior is that way.
I've had a horrific childhood, and I didn't turn out that way. So I don't think that it's an explanation, yes, but it's not an excuse for behaving bad.
Yeah, it explains what's happening, but it doesn't excuse the behavior.
Yeah, and I still think that it should be addressed with boundaries.
And you think that behavior should be addressed with boundaries, creating boundaries.
Yeah. I'm gonna go into another topic now that I also wanted to bring up. It's about the empathy groups and why you got banned from them.
Yeah, so the other topic is why I'm banned from the NVC groups.
Yeah, and I listened to the YouTube circle, and I heard you say that it was because you were trying to mediate between people.
Yeah, you heard the discussion we had, and you thought I was banned for mediating. Yeah,
and this is what I'm trying to reveal to you, that the reason why you got banned is because you didn't consider the needs of the group, which was, and I think you know this, that's one person wasn't comfortable with you posting a video of them in that group, and because I asked them, and that's what they told me.
Yeah, so one person was not comfortable with me posting a video to them, and you'd actually asked them, and they had told you that.
Yeah, and they didn't feel that you were considering the needs of the group. And that's kind of like the thing that I want to raise here with you also, that you seem to sort of like take the part of an abuser. That is how I see James. He's an abusive person. You seem to take part with him more than other people's needs.
Yeah,
And
so you're thinking that I'm like taking sort of aware of James's needs more than other people's needs.
yeah, and I felt kind of disappointed when I found out why you got kicked out, because you gave another explanation which wasn't true. And one other reason was that because these circles, it's not MVC. It's not. Doing reflective listening is a tiny bit of what MVC is, and they were also wanting the group to be about MVC.
So that is the time, and you're wanting to, that you're saying that the group is about NVC, and since this is not NVC, that it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel heard?
Yes.
Okay, I'll speak back to you then. Let's see, there's a couple things there. Oh, about needs. Yes, it's like I'm looking at a culture of empathy. So it's like, how do we create an empathic society? And it's taking it out of just individual needs into the relationship, the quality of the relationship. So I think that NVC can be sort of narcissistic, just like, oh, it's my needs, and it's not seeing the sort of the common needs of what a culture of empathy is.
Yeah, so you think that MVC is narcissistic?
Can be, yeah.
Can be narcissistic because, yeah, your sense of it is that it's all about one person's needs.
Or it's like my needs, it can be, yeah. So it's like there's a shared need that we have to have a constructive, well-being relationship. It's about the shared, having a shared empathic, a value of the shared empathic space relationship that we have with each other.
Yeah, so your thoughts about MVC is that it could be all about one person's needs, but what you want to focus on is the shared relationship.
Yeah, and individual needs are a part of that, but there's also the relationship. Like, what is the quality of the relationship that we have with each other? And it's a mutually, and I'm looking for a mutually empathic relationship where we hear each other, that everyone gets heard.
Yeah, so you want to focus on building a relationship in which you think that it should be about hearing each other.
Yeah, and that's what we do here. The empathy circle models it, because I fully listen to you and you fully listen to me, and we're creating a relationship here where we listen to each other, and that's what. And I don't know where it will go. I don't know what the outcome will be, but I know that it's that tends to lead to people's well-being when they listen to each other.
Yeah, so that is what you believe that we're creating here, that we're listening to each other, and your hopes is that it will eventually lead somewhere, but you don't know.
It lead to in a constructive way, and I just see it
Yeah.
over and over and over again, that when we do this, it leads to a constructive relationship. People start trusting each other, they start feeling heard, they start feeling like they belong, and you know, it's a shared relationship.
Yeah. So you have actually seen a constructive relationship build because of this empathic listening, and they eventually land in, you know, share mutuality and all those kinds of good things that you want in a relationship.
Yeah, and then like with Matthew Ricard, you know, talking about evil, there's a book out, The Science of Evil, and by Simon Baron-Cohen, and he articulates what I've always thought too, is evil is a lack of empathy. So he tries to say, instead of using the word evil, just call it empathy erosion. So all the things that we see that we might name as evil are a lack of empathy.
Yeah, so going back to the book that Corinne, or the person Corinne talked about, is that he said that evil is because of a lack of empathy.
Oh, he doesn't say that. It's another book by Simon Baron-Cohen who addresses that term. Yeah, so it's, and that's what I agree. At the core, I see, instead of saying it's just evil, say, hey, it's a lack of empathy. You know, Hitler, all the concentration camps, Stalin, you know, all these things, they're just a lack of people listening, being in an empathic, mutual listening dialogue.
Yeah, so you see a common thread that it could be a common thread that all evil people like Hitler and Stalin had this lack of listening.
Yeah. So that's my time. I feel heard.
Okay, I want to switch to you again, Edwin.
Okay.
Sorry, Corinne. Yeah, no, okay. I still don't feel understood by you. I know that you're reflecting me, but I'm not sensing that kind of understanding about what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you feel like I'm reflecting what you're saying, but you're just not feeling really understood to your satisfaction.
Yeah, I still feel that you want to defend your own viewpoint.
Yeah, and it's like, instead of really understanding where you're coming from, I'm just wanting to defend my viewpoint.
Yeah. When it comes to NVC, you're right. It can be narcissistic, but the aim with NVC is to find different strategies to meet as much needs possible for all involved.
Yeah, so you're explaining that NVC it can be narcissistic, but the idea is to meet as many needs as possible for everyone that's involved. So,
and yeah. That's why I agree with Bill that this these circles are very pleasurable oftentimes, but it doesn't resolve anything, because there are still unmet needs going on that needs to be addressed, and you need to find a strategy to meet both parties' needs.
Yeah, so this is pleasurable. These empathy circles are pleasurable, but it's really not meeting everyone's needs. And so,
yeah.
So you got to find some strategies to meet those needs.
Yeah. I'm gonna be blunt now, but I'm actually getting the sense that you don't. It's all about what you want and what you need, and there's like when you when I try to tell you that people's needs aren't met here for safety and trust. You don't seem to care about that. That's the sense that I'm getting.
Yeah, so you're just wanting to be blunt and say that from your sense that I'm not really caring about people's needs. It's just my own needs that I'm trying to address here.
Yeah. Yeah. And just by you trying to defend your viewpoint tells me that you don't want to include other people's needs in this. It's not that I don't want to include your needs, but I want to have my needs included also. And I know that you care about me in one sense. We have a certain agreement, but I still don't feel that you understand why people would be scared of some people lashing out. Sorry.
Yeah, so you sense that I care about you and that we have sort of a relationship, and that, but you feel like I'm just not getting that some people would be scared and have fear.
Yeah.
And I just don't get that they have fear.
Yeah, and it sometimes feels like you're desensitized to other people not having your level of capacity. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like you have a true understanding of where they are, and that they may never be where you are, because people have come in with different kinds of levels of how they are as individuals.
Yeah, so it's like you that I don't have like an awareness of where people are, because they come in with these different levels of experience and maybe capacity for fear or other feelings, and that I'm just not sensitive to where they're coming from.
Yeah, you're not inclusive of other people's perspective and needs. That's how I perceive it, at least.
Yeah, so that from your point of view, it seems that I'm not being inclusive of other people's perspectives and their feelings and their needs, and so you just don't think that I'm really getting where they are.
Yeah.
And that was the time too.
Thank you. I feel heard.
Okay, Corina, are you available?
Yes.
Okay. So one thing, yeah, in terms of fear, sometimes when I sort of feel into my body, I feel like I'm standing over this pit of fear. Like I'm willing to stand on the edge of this pit, this unending deep pit of fear and anxiety.
Yes, you are feeling sometimes like you are standing at the edge of a pit of anxiety, right? Of fear.
And fear, yeah. And it's like when you step into sort of this, I feel like, and I had this with my family, they had a fight in my family, and it was like, and I stepped into that, and I was so fearful. It was like in the bones of my body. I was like anxiety, just like huge anxiety, just stepping into that. It was like, it was like in the marrow, the marrow, which is like inside the bones, was just full of anxiety.
Okay, so you had a situation with your family where you entered into this fear and anxiety. Felix, calme-toi un peu.
Yeah, it was a conflict between my mother and sister-in-law. They were kind of screaming and yelling at each other. So, and I tried to step in with empathy, right? I tried to be empathic to both sides. So, and it's like, being empathic is very scary. Yeah.
So you try to step into a conflict in your family and to be empathic to both sides, and you didn't manage, if I hear you well.
I managed very well, but it's very scary. Empathy and fear, they kind of go together. They seem to be two poles.
Je suis occupée. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Tu descends de là.
So, yeah, a little bit of distraction. Do you feel up to it? I mean, do you feel up to doing the reflection, or?
Félix, tu descends de là. Félix.
Oh,
Yes.
we're out of
What
time.
were you saying,
Wow.
Edwin? Is it your time?
Yeah, I just no, I just realized we only have 12 minutes left. So, hey.
Reste là. Oh mon Dieu. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, it's well. Yeah, next time you may need to kind of have a quiet place where you can be really present.
Yes.
So,
Tu descends de là, tu vas te casser la tête.
so I'm just realizing we're out of time. We only have about 10 minutes, so maybe we'll stop there and we'll go back to the full group. And maybe you could just reflect that last part if you, Sophia. I'll just try to finish this one little story.
I can't
It's
remember.
just I was stepping into an empathic space. I see fear and empathy at sort of two poles, and then if you're trying to, they kind of you can be both. You can be very empathic, but you can also be full of fear too as you try to be empathic. And I sense that with my family. It was so scary, but then I didn't say you're bad or you're bad. I tried to listen to both sides, and then after they both felt heard, I had them empathize with each other, and then it turned into this big family empathy circle, and we kind of went through the layers of the conflict, and it ended very beautifully, where everybody kind of had hugs and everything. But it's really scary to be in a deep empathic space. There's fear and I try to stay present with the fear, so.
So you see fear and empathy as kind of like opposites.
Yeah.
But you have to. What I'm hearing is that you have a perspective that you have to sort of like face that fear to be empathic. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. Yeah. And that was an example. I was just sharing an example. So
Yeah.
I'm going to close all the rooms. So we'll have about 60 seconds before we go back. So yeah, so there's a lot more to continue with this. I love this discussion, this exploration, and I wish we had more time for it.
I still don't feel that you understand me though.
Yeah, that's why we need more time, because you really don't feel like you're understood. So we would need more time. To be continued.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, well, let's go back to the main room. All righty. We are back. So at this point, we just want to do a short debrief, up to maybe a minute. How was that, the discussion? Any insights you had? I really enjoyed it because it kind of brought up a lot of topics that we had, the thing that stayed with me was we talked about, I talked about fear and empathy, and the two, for me, there's sort of poles, and they have to, for me, I need to sort of face the fear. I need to be in a space of facing the fear, but being empathic and not sort of shut down. And it's hard. And then I also heard Sophia just does not feel heard by me. So I hope we can continue discussion to the point where she really feels heard and understood to her satisfaction. So that was me. So Sophia, do you want to just debrief?
Yeah, I came here with a thought that me and Edwin don't share the same values. And I leave with that. I feel more certain of that there are some conflicting values about what empathy is and how it should look like. And I don't think that that will be changed, but I feel more kind of centered in where I stand, and I have a better understanding for where Edwin stands.
Great. Bill?
Yeah, we had a really great conversation. And I guess what Peter reflected, and I'll kind of respond to him here. He said that he saw me as a good listener, but he also said that I'd probably be a pretty good bullshitter as well, which is true. I'm a college graduate. Don't sell me short. It's a survival tactic, Peter. You need that. But I really welcomed his comment. Because that's exactly what I see when we talk about empathic. I'm trying to be empathic. I don't have all the answers. So anything I say, there's always some bullshit in it because nobody understands. And then I welcome being challenged because then that brings us to, respectfully, that brings us to a better place. That brings me to a greater understanding, to see how I'm impacting other people. And then eventually, yes, I may not be perfect, but but with everybody's help and empathy, we all get to a better place together. And that's what I have to say.
You're muted, Edwin.
I'm muted, sorry. Bob?
It's been a delightful 2 hours. The first part, I felt uncomfortable with the discord expressed. The second part in our group of 4 was a lovely empathy circle, listening to someone, being in touch with someone, feeling our common humanity. And I come back and there's still a little discord in the air, and that's who we are as human beings, I think. And I'm blessed to be part of this. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Claudine.
Sorry, this stupid keyboard does not respond. Yeah, I'm with Bob. I really enjoyed that. And I'm at the point in my life where it's no fault anything. It is what it is. We have catchphrases around our house, Sometimes we look at each other and say, what the heck was that? So yeah, I'm just really cherishing contact with people. I had a really tough time. I talked about how it was for me to work my way into active listening, into empathetic interactions with people, and it's been so long, and there's been so much water under the bridge, and I came through some horrific times in my life, and my takeaway is now and has been for so long that if we don't connect with each other, what do we got,
Yeah.
So that makes me really emotional. I got called out. No, I shouldn't say that. I didn't get called out by Peter, but I have been aware that part of my strength is that I can't disguise emotion really well. I kind of on the surface, but that makes me a good actor. So.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
I just want to ask Bill how he felt. Well, he kind of said how he felt about the comments I made, but I just wanted to say I'm just hoping I haven't offended him. And I thought that today, I thought it was difficult, but I feel like slowly but surely got into it. and I wasn't sure whether I was going to make it the full 2 hours, but I'm glad I managed to in the end.
Well, great. Well, I hope you can make it next week too. We'll do it again. Glad you could make it. Corina, we're just doing a little debrief.
Well, yeah, I understand. Yeah, thank you. It was interesting to observe everything and to learn how it works. I'm sorry for my personal life that is so hectic right now. And for me it was interesting. Sometimes I have difficulties in sticking to the rule, because you have to reflect exactly what was said, and I have tendencies to ask questions because I'm a coach. So, but I will. It's very interesting. So I will. And it was interesting also the topics discussed. I won't go into it more than that. So it was a pleasure to be with you, and sorry for my limits here. I'm so sorry.
Well, I'm glad you could make it.
Thank you.
And,
I hope I'll see you again in different circumstances.
Yeah, and you'd also want to take the training. So I just put the link in there. We are forming a cohort number 4 that Bill and Lou are teaching or facilitating. It's a 4-session training. They just finished yesterday, the cohort 3. And I think there was like 14 people in that cohort. So we're just starting a new cohort. If you're going to do the training, and the information is there. In half an hour, we have our facilitator support group. So if you've taken part in several empathy circles and you feel like you're ready to start facilitating your own, it's a circle where it's a support group where you get 15 minutes to share, the circles you want to host. And then you can get feedback from other facilitators about how to facilitate that, any challenges you might have. So we're here to support you in holding your own empathy circles and sort of spreading the practice. And we'll be meeting here again next week, same time. And then there's the training. And yeah, is anyone here part of Extinction Rebellion? Just wondering if, yeah, so. Not there's tomorrow if you're in the UK, there's a Extinction Rebellion Empathy Cafe that's at 8 a.m. British time. It's organized by the Australians, so it's too late for our group, but you're welcome to take part in that. If you let's see if where's you can see the full event calendar. I'll put that in here for as well as Bob. Do you want to talk about your event? We'll be putting that's the calendar of events, and hopefully we'll add Bob's grief. Do you want to just say a few words about your grief circle?
I have a series that's in our 4th week and hoping to go 10 weeks. So Thursdays, the same time as this group, only on Thursdays. So hope to see you.
Yeah. So that's it. Well, thank you very much for taking part, and look forward to seeing you next week. So with that, I will stop